Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's June 9th, 2026. We're very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event will be recorded. The recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. For everybody who's on Zoom, this is a great opportunity to connect with other people who are on the call. Go ahead and put in the chat window, put in your name, the position you're looking for. Give us 2 or 3 target companies. Give us your email, your LinkedIn address. Connect with everybody else who's on the call today, because you never know who will be able to help you in your job search in the future. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. That group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. And I'll tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of this program. And since 2017, I've been a member of the Practice Interview Team, also known as the PIT Crew. This is a great way to practice your interviewing. Don't wait until you have an interview scheduled. They like to say practice early, practice often. Just by watching somebody else being interviewed, you'll learn a lot of great information. Just go to dallaspitcrew.com for more information. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They rotate through on a monthly basis. Today, our speaker is Locke Alderson. He's a career consultant. He's been recruiting for many, many years, and he's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting strategies that get results. So, Locke, thank you for being with us, and good afternoon. You're muted. Locke, we can't see you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. I
Okay.
can hear you now.
Should have it up on the screen, Jeff.
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay. I'm going to shrink me out of the picture. But basically, as Jeff mentioned, I've been a recruiter for a number of years. That's a short bio. There's my bio up there, 43 years in recruiting. And part of that was in working with others in job and career transition and career consulting. About 12 years, and then I got approached by Mullen International, an outplacement firm out of New York. They said, "You've been doing it as a volunteer for 12 years. Would you like to get paid for it for 90 days?" And I said, "Let's try 90 days." And 90 days lasted for 4 years and 90 days before Mullen sold out to Lee Herrick Harrison. A month later, after I'd been laid off, I was picked up by Lee Herrick Harrison. And one of the things I like to point out is I, like many of you out there, have been laid off a number of times. I have 5 in my career that I'll take credit for. A couple I won't hit. And I have one of those times I'd like to share a little bit about because it gives something more about me. I lived in Southern California at the time, and my wife was a stay-at-home mom with a baby and a 3-year-old. I was notified, and I had about 2 months extra notice before I was actually laid off. And during that time, it was obviously a time of stress and a time when I could rely on the Lord. And our church had a praise service just before Easter, and I stood up and praised the Lord for where He was and how He was working in my life at that time. I'd had 19 interviews. I'd had 16 of them said no, don't have a match. 2 of them said, "Well, we're in the process. You're still a candidate for us." And one of them had said yes and moved us to Texas. So that was an interesting way to go about things, but a lot of no's and negatives there with 50 resumes that didn't get a response or got rejected, and 16 interviews. So that's one of the reasons I like to think that the Lord has been with me through my journeys through the job opportunities as well. So I do rely on scripture on a regular basis. One of those verses that has meant a lot to me is blessed be the Lord, because day after day he bears our burdens, from Psalms 68:19. And one of the things about job hunting, it's a relationship. And those relationships are often building relationships with others. Well, job hunting is just one of those. And LinkedIn is one of those that you, in terms of your job hunting, showing up on LinkedIn is your profile, and opening up to what you've done and how well you've done it. Lets others get to know you on LinkedIn. So those are some of the things we want to touch bases on today. But I'll ask the question, what is LinkedIn and why are you using it? Okay, it originally started out as a networking tool for marketing professionals, and recruiters quickly attached to it because people were sharing information about their backgrounds and posting information in their profile. And then it is now the number one tool that's used by recruiters in their mailbox in their toolbox to find people and to verify them. And if your goal is to be found by a recruiter or a manager, what is it? What does somebody look for in your background? Uh, excuse me. The first part of the presentation is aimed at helping you get found on LinkedIn. Then we'll do some tips and techniques on your job hunting on LinkedIn. But somebody had once shared LinkedIn has been an irreplaceable tool in my job search. The ability to show employers my exact experience and skills that I have on my profile is ultimately what helped get me the job. And I can attest to that. I've counseled with people and helped them beef up their LinkedIn profile and ended up getting an interview and getting the job. So the things we want to touch about, as I said, is your profile, your headline and your open to work sections, your dashboard, which some of you may not be aware of that you have one, your about section, which used to be called a summary, your professional work experience, your skills and endorsements. And how do you go about optimizing your profile? And then how do recruiters search? And then how do you go about searching? And job alerts, if you will. So I want to talk about that. But AI, I wanted something that I saw on a LinkedIn blog last week. I saw my LinkedIn blog. It was an article by a lady named Lynn Williams. She's a master's in education and working on a PhD. And she wrote an article called Linky Locks and the Three Bears, the Porridge Test for LinkedIn in the Age of AI. I think one of the things we know about AI, and I'll just summarize briefly what she said. She had three different positions in LinkedIn because there's a danger of using LinkedIn to just enhance our profile or resume. And because it's trained on massive amounts of data for existing content, it often results in safe, generic, and predictable language. And that's why so many profiles sound interchangeable. So that's one thing to look about. But what should your attitude be? Well, basically, she says there's three different approaches to LinkedIn, to AI with LinkedIn. There are those that don't use it at all. There are those who rely on it entirely, and those who use it to tailor and customize and beef up their profile, and then those who add their personal touch to it as well. So those are something of things about LinkedIn. The other thing that AI has done is allow more applicants to apply to more different jobs. So it's increased the job flow that recruiters have to look through. So I guess the next question that I want to ask is, does your profile attract hiring managers or recruiters' attention? It's vitally important because first impressions are important to you getting looked at beyond just the initial screen. So let's take a look at your profile because that's where it all starts. There's an old version of my profile. It's got a headshot in there, and my wife told me it's a little bit dated, but it's still a good picture of me. There's a background photo or a banner photo there of a trip that I had to the Bahamas. Some people use more descriptive ones like Jeff. He's got information about his background and also about the book that he's written. So those are some of the things that you can do with that. But you also notice there that there's your name. Again, with your name section, you want to put the name that you are going to go by. My legal name is John Locke Alderson, Jr. So occasionally I play around with the telemarketers when they call and say, I'd like to speak to John Alderson. And I say, which one? And they say, well, senior. And I say, well, unfortunately, he passed away about 20 years ago. So again, make the name the one that you can easily identify with, and then they can make it easy for you to start. Okay. And another question that you want to ask yourself about your profile and your headline, which is there underneath your name, is if your headline is the only thing someone sees about you, what does it really say? Does it address the recruiter's needs and cares? It's a question to ask yourself. Well, let's move on to the next phase and look at how long has it been that you've updated your profile? One of the things that came in a blog about a year ago that I read was a freshness guarantee for both your resume and your profile. If you haven't touched it in a while, it's likely that you're not getting as much attention as you used to because LinkedIn's activity, your activity on LinkedIn, the things that you do, commenting on somebody's blog, and I commented on one this morning, and you're looking for a job, those are all activity. That's one of the sections on LinkedIn that adds up to when they gather up all the information about you on the different sections, that's one that's added as well when they do a search about you. So how long has it been you've looked at your profile? Well, if you haven't done it, is it a rusty car because you've neglected it? That's kind of an exaggeration, but think about when you go to the grocery store. You look at the produce, and if it's a green apple and a bunch of redwoods, you're probably not going to choose that one. Again, likewise, if you're like I am, you take a look at the best used by date on things like milk and other products, cheeses, and anything in the deli section as well. So those are something to think about in terms of that, but you can do some certain things on your LinkedIn profile to keep it fresh and to freshen it each and every week. Getting back to the profile itself, you have 6 to 10 seconds to make a judgment because that's what recruiters actually do is they look at a profile for 6 to 10 seconds and make a decision to review further or go on to the next one. And because I said AI has made it possible to send more and more activity and more applications for jobs. Again, getting a longer look on somebody's viewer, if you will, it's vitally important for that. But LinkedIn is a powerful platform for job search as well, networking and career management. So creating a strong LinkedIn profile will boost your career and help you land that dream job. So I want to update it regularly. One of the things about doing that, LinkedIn used to have a chart like something like this for all-star status. So these are the things that you need to have on your LinkedIn profile to do. Do you have a current position? Have you listed some more of your history, like two previous positions, your education and your skills, your connections? Those are the things that add up to a LinkedIn senior ranking, if you will. So what do you need to do to complete your profile? Well, they mentioned a headshot and a background or banner photo, a headline. Use the open to work section, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. Your about section should be a short statement. Actually, you can use 2,000 characters in your about section to give an overview of your career and your highlights of what you've accomplished and using keywords from your profession. An important thing to me is to have your contact information in your about section, the first line of your about section, because we're not directly connected as first degree connections. I may not be able to get in touch with you. I had somebody in a call yesterday, a presentation that I did. I looked him up because I've known him. We're first degree connection. He doesn't even have his contact information, doesn't have his email address or his phone number in his contacts information. So I have no way of getting in touch with him except to send him a message through LinkedIn. But putting that phone number on the top line of your about section, usually the about section, when you view it or somebody takes a look at it, there's only 3 lines that show. So even if it's buried down in the middle of the section or at the end of the section, it's not visible and people don't generally click more times to find your contact information. You want to have your experience section. And if you have an unusual job title, I'll mention that. I worked for a company that used titles like Member of Technical Staff 3. Again, explain what it is, the term that you generally use in industry to describe that position. Describe your duties and the results and the keywords from your profession, because that identifies that you are an expert in your field. Your skills from your profession and endorsements, your awards and certification. A lot of times I look at somebody's profile and their education stops when they got their degree. Well, most of us have had additional education since that time, and you want to put it down. And if you can get recommendations, I strongly advise that you do that as well. Another verse of scripture that's meant a lot to me along the way is from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Again, words of encouragement from me. So another thing that I mentioned earlier, if your headline is the only thing somebody sees about you, what does it really say? Does it tell about who you are? Does it identify what you do? Does it tell what you've accomplished? And again, we're going to delve further into headlines because they are so vitally important. And is your headline a grabber? Does it attract somebody's attention? Well, let's take a look at this, and the way that you can evaluate this, there's a URL down at the bottom, headlines@sharethrough.com. This was my original profile that I tested. Again, when I did that testing of that, The headline rating was about a 55 overall rating. The engagement score was 65 and 55 for the impression. Well, I changed it up a little bit, added more detail, added some characters there. I used the pipe character between things to do that. If you use that pipe character that's there between words, make sure that you have a blank space on either side of it. Otherwise, those terms will not be a searchable term. But when I did that, my overall score went from 55 to 78. My engagement score only went up a little bit to 72, but my impression score jumped from 55 to 76. So it can make a difference on what you have there, and you could test it out. That's an easy way to do that. So let's take a look at some sample headlines. I've kind of listed these all on one page, so get them on the screen. Generally, a headline is you've got 220 characters to play with there. The first four up there, unemployed, retired, seeking new opportunity, and formerly a VP of finance, are all good. They probably tell the truth about you, but they don't go far enough. They don't put your best foot forward. Adding something like digital design engineer seeking a new opportunity adds a degree field that somebody's looking at. Social media strategist, content manager seeking a new opportunity has experience with print and digital media, public relations, marketing, and corporate communications. You notice there's an abbreviation there. Again, if it's a widely recognized one, then it's okay to use it. If it's in your profile and it's an unusual one, you may want to spell it out the first time that you use it. But you can notice the other ones that are up there. Some of them are short and succinct, like general manager, manufacturing, aerospace. Again, that's a narrow field. Again, manufacturing and general manager are the ones that are there. Well, something that's available to you is some guidelines for adding things to your profile. You can see there, and if you want that, you can request the slide deck, and it's there. But doing that, let's take a look at applying some of those. Again, senior accountant, increasing productivity in highly regulated industries like utilities. Or IT manager, IT project manager with IDLE, Scrum Master, Agile, able to explain high tech to customers and deliver projects on time. That's a pretty succinct summary of what somebody has done, and it's to the point. Again, I've recruited IT project managers, those are some of the things I would look for to delve further into the background. And business manager, who can bridge the gap between techies and management or techies and customers, another vital important thing for that business analyst. That's a key part of a job for a business analyst. Here are some other headlines. Systems analyst in healthcare using digital indexes to reduce hospital administration paperwork by 50%. If you've ever gone through registration at the hospital, you know all the paperwork that you fill out. It's kind of like filling out the paperwork when you buy a new car. It's reams and reams of paper. So those are just some additional titles that you can look at as samples and executives. Like another verse of scripture, peace I leave with you, peace, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives, do I give it to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, and neither let them be afraid, from John's Gospel in the New Testament. Using open to work is vitally important as well. Again, some of you may be reticent to use the open to work because you don't like that banner from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Some of you may not want to use it because you're in stealth mode. Again, you can do that and not open it up to everybody. But you notice there it's open to work and it's open to all LinkedIn members. Again, there's some limitations on that you can use, but it allows you to describe, again, a few things that other things about your background. Also allows you to list 5 additional job titles, where you are in your job status, things like, what's your status in terms of looking? Are you looking for on-site, hybrid, or remote kinds of jobs? What are the titles that you're looking for? You notice as I started to type in career on that one, there are a number of choices from a drop-down menu, some artificial intelligence that LinkedIn applies. Another thing that you want to check, and you may not have checked, is your homepage. You can check your analytics. This gives you some idea of where you stand. How many post impressions have you had this last 7 days? How many profile views have you had in the last 90 days? And how many search appearances have you had? Again, that gives you some feedback on where you are and what's happening with your LinkedIn profile. Another thing that you can do is to feature some aspects of your work. You could possibly put a reference to your book. You could put your resume in there. I've just listed a couple of presentations that I've done. My son lists a reel. He's a motion graphic designer. So some of his sample work is in there. If you're in public relations or something like that, you may have have samples of your ad campaigns that you've worked on. But those are some of the things that you can include in your featured section. Let's move on to your about section, which is really your summary section. Normally, summary sections are, you want to have 3 or 4 lines and then a break and then add some bulleted accomplishments in there. This is a particularly long one. I particularly like it because it's so well written. Okay. Notice that the email contact is there on the first line. That makes it easy for somebody to get in touch with you, even if you don't want to use your phone number. And the gentleman that I mentioned that didn't have his phone number and his email address in his profile yesterday when I talked to him, he said he didn't have it in there because he was getting too many spam calls. Well, you can get a Google phone number that will screen your calls for you. Okay. But that's something that you notice again that he uses the abbreviation FP&A, which is financial planning analysis. Recruiters know what FP&A means if they worked in accounting and finance, but again, they may not. Some recruiters don't know what those terms mean. So spell it out the first time that you use it. Here's some other sample resumes. You notice here that the individual is going to first person in both of these examples, and that's something that LinkedIn allows you to do. And again, you can share those kinds of things as well. I'm a grateful partner with many world-class award-winning companies and give some key companies. They also list briefly the companies that they've worked for. Moving on to your experience section, which is another one that you want to have. Generally, you want to have your job title, the company names and dates. Your responsibilities, again, limit them to about 3 to 5 lines. Much longer than that, again, you can't easily explain what you do, but also the reader is not going to read much longer than that. Notice that one thing else that I've included there, right here. Where is it? My mouse touchscreen is right there. I've included an email that the director, Amanda Gill, sent out when I left Oracle in 2010. I thought it was a good summary of my background, so I just included it in my profile for that section. The other thing that you can do in each section is to add some accomplishments. Well, there are 2 accomplishments that I had as a recruiter at Oracle Corporation. And they add some credibility to that because those are as recruiter of the quarter twice, means I was the top recruiter among 50 recruiters in 2 different quarters. And that one year I was selected as the top recruiter among 50 to attend the consultant organization, which is the one that I happen to support with only about 5,000 employees in the United States, to their annual outing in Nassau in the Bahamas, which was a lot of fun. Okay. Another thing that you're doing, if you are currently out of work, I strongly advise that you add a position to show the job that you're looking for. And you say, wait a minute. One of the values that LinkedIn gives is for having a current position. So you want to have that. Other areas that you can add are volunteer experience and your projects. Again, those were not available when I first wrote my profile, and I haven't updated my profile for separate sections for the volunteers and projects. But let's take a look at a sample profile, job listing, if you will, for when you're out of work. This one just says software applications developer, looking for a full-time job, and they're looking for an opportunity in a particular industry, and just list location that's there. But that gives some idea to the recruiter of what you're doing and what you're looking for. Current position. Here's one for projects. I just included one when I was a program manager for professional organization for the Dallas-Fort Worth Staffing Management Association. But you can see how that applies as well for having concurrent positions. But a lot of the resumes that I got when I was with Oracle and with Siebel were from IT people or IT professionals who'd done a lot of project work or consulting work. So they would list each project that they worked on, what it consisted of, how many people, what were the hardware that they were working with, the software, the size and scope of the project. So it gave you a chance to describe that in greater detail.
John Alderson, John Snell.
Next area I'd like to take a look at is your skills and endorsements. And
Hey, Locke.
Yes,
Sorry, a quick question back to your experience section.
yes.
And I put it in the chat. So should you limit your experience section for older roles greater than 20 years old to kind of combat ageism, similar to what people do with their resumes?
Well, you can and leave those off if you want. You can also try and leave dates off, but I understand LinkedIn has made some changes. It's requiring dates now. And that's something that you want to do as well, particularly your education, because there's a large gap with a date on your education and your first experience. You may have to try and explain that. It's a red flag it bears answering questions by people. But that's a good question. And you may want to just list your most recent experience for the last 10 or 15 years, where there's a normal break in your career. Okay. But let's take a look at skills and endorsements. Normally, LinkedIn, when you open somebody's profile and look at it, there will be 2 or 3 skills that are listed. If you have not selected those, LinkedIn will be happy to select them for you. And those may not be the ones that you want to highlight. Those may not be the ones that support your headline that you've got and the job that you're looking for. But you actually have about 50, actually it's gone up to 100 now. When I first started, it was 50 that you can use. But people do search on skills as well. One of the ways that you can find out your skills, if you don't know what they are, you can look at the job postings and take a look that way. But you can also look at this, finding your skills at LinkedIn GitHub. And notice if you're there, you might want to click on the arrow, they skip ahead. They have about 150 different professional titles listed, and it will show the composition of those jobs. What are the skills in an implementation project manager? Okay, so that's a way that you can add to that. But taking it one step further, let's take a look at somebody's skills. Are they maximized for the greatest impact? Well, the way that you can do that, when you open up your screen, there's a pencil there at the time, and when you click on the blue pencil, what happens is we'll open up the next screen and there's 3 dots there. When you click on the 3 dots, okay, you can reorder your skills because it gives you that chance. Notice it says reorder skills. When you click on reorder, this is what comes up. It's a listing of your skills. And if you place your cursor, hold it over the 4 lines at the right there, and you can drag and drop your skills. One of the ways to refresh your resume, your profile every week, is to reorder those a little bit. For some weeks, I might be looking for something in executive search, but if I was looking for a career consultant position, that may be the top one on my list, and others like that. So those are some ways that you can reorder your skills, and as I say, also to refresh your profile. And you want to do that probably once a week, and that's one way to do it. Another way that you want to take a look at, and you may not have thought of that, is to optimize your profile, is to take a look at some other people. So do a search for yourself. I did there, I said recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And there were listed at the time about 26,500 people were listed. Not all those people are out actually looking, but they had recruiter in their profile in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So you can pop open some of those, like this one, and see what's in that person's profile. If some of that verbiage that's in there, some of those words describe you and they're not in yours, be sure to adapt them to yours. Don't copy them verbatim. I just warn you with that, because if there's only one job like yours that somebody else has, it maybe you don't want to be targeted with being that person. So moving ahead further, we want to look at searching on LinkedIn and searching for you, and how does LinkedIn run searches, but also how do recruiters actually search? Because there's some difference, but you can search on jobs, job titles, you can search on keywords and companies and locations and functions as well. So what do recruiters really look for and really search for? Well, generally they look for a match. The more matches as possible. The first one that they tend to look for is job titles, and your job titles are going to show up in a number of different places, like your headline, your open to work section, your about section, and your employment section, with all of your present and past titles that are included there. The next area that they're going to look at is your keywords and skills. Okay, what have you got? Because that's what consists of the job of. That's how recruiters actually do search. They may also extend it and add specific industries and specific companies. I know that's been the case where you were looking at electronics. When I was working at Siebel, we were typically looking for people that worked at Oracle or at SAP, were the primary company that we were trying to steal people from, or to recruit them from, to be more politically correct. Okay, but some industries are very specific. They like people with their own kind of background. The healthcare industry is well noted for something like that. The other area, education and geographic location, current and prior companies, and your length of service are questions that the recruiters, then they tend to look in more detail at your summary and your experience. Well, let's take a look at that. And why is that important? Well, they take a look at the headline. Do they have the keywords that appear in the job posting? You have 220 characters, at least you should have the title of the job that you're applying for there. The About section is a concise overview of your experience, expertise, and accomplishments. Your experience, does it focus on your duties and responsibilities? And most resumes that I've looked at in a career of 43 years were that. 90% of the resumes simply talked about what somebody's duties were and their responsibilities. What did they do? But it needed to show what they'd accomplished performing those duties and responsibilities. And likewise, your activities and postings. Okay. So really, when LinkedIn summarized that thing, come on. Again, you receive a score for each section on your profile and for your activity on LinkedIn. Your ranking in searches is based on the sum of these values. The higher scores appear at the top of the list of results based on the qualifications being sought. That's a good statement of what happens with LinkedIn when a recruiter does a search. Well, let's take a look at a search document. This is copied from a LinkedIn profile, I mean, LinkedIn input document. And there are two software licenses that are available to recruiters. There's a Recruiter and a Recruiter Lite. A Recruiter Lite license, site license, costs $10,000 per year, and it's used by many executive search firms. There's a Recruiter Lite, which is used by technical recruiting firms typically, and it's only $5,000 per year. But this is the input document. At the time that I did this, copied this, there were about 710 million people in LinkedIn worldwide. Again, the Recruiter Lite searches United States. The Recruiter allows worldwide searches. But there are three input screens like this, and you notice on there that there's location, job titles, companies, skills, and assessments. Those are the things that recruiters do and look at. Okay, they can narrow that down. That 710 million can be narrowed down to maybe 70 within 30 seconds. So let's take a look at some results from a search. This particular one was for a product manager in the Seattle area, and they were looking for the skills were product management and product marketing. Those are somewhat interchangeable, but they also wanted somebody who'd done competitive analysis. So those are the where there were 6,900 that were in the pool, if you will, of candidates, and 2,500 of them were actually in the process of looking at open to new opportunities. Another search was done in Chicago for project managers, and they were looking at candidates from either the West Coast or the East Coast, New York or Chicago. They also wanted the skills was business strategy and analytics as a project manager. Okay. And they also looked at education. Northwestern is in Evanston, just north of Chicago. So that's one of the things that you want to look at in terms of that. Well, how do you go about searching for jobs? Now, for you, okay, let's talk about that. You can search in two ways on LinkedIn. One is the original search box that you see there on the left, or you can go to the briefcase over there on the right and search that way. I'm using the briefcase to look for jobs. When you open up that, you can enter a job, you can enter a job title or a profession or a company location there and a location. Not always, you won't always find the location blocks on there, particularly if you've done a search originally, and it will default to that. But if you don't put one in there and you have that location box, it will default to the United States. So you want to enter a location the first time. So here are some job samples that I've done, searching for jobs, looking for that, as I've demonstrated this live at times. Okay, this one was for a sales representative because there was no date, no location entered. It defaulted to the United States, and it resulted in about 2,000, almost 200,000 jobs, okay, that were available. Far too many to look at it in several weeks if you want to take a look at that. So you need to put a location there if there's a location available to you. The next one we want to show is for a senior accountant. I limited it to 25 miles, and that limit location is done because you as candidates have told recruiters you didn't want to drive more than 20 to 25 miles to work. So recruiters, when they do their search, limited their search to 20 to 25 miles, 25, and I think LinkedIn drops down to 10. If you live out beyond that, if you lived in, say, Denton and are willing to work in downtown Dallas or Fort Worth, you may look at 50 miles. But by doing that, again, and the job boards like LinkedIn, when they came along, they put those limits in there as well. The default setting is for 25 miles. But you notice that there were, for that particular job, there were 144 results for that particular position. I did a search for a quality assurance monthly meeting here in Dallas a couple of years ago, and we looked for quality assurance jobs just to open it up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay, well, in the past week there were almost 2,000 jobs. Well, again, most of the people at the meeting or attending the meeting were not looking for quality inspector or quality technician jobs. So we added another word to refine our search. We added manager to it, and it dropped the search number by 90%. So that's what the other thing I mentioned there is that notice that the past week is highlighted blue. I strongly advise you to limit your search to the past week because jobs get filled very quickly. And so you want to apply that. Unless you have an unusual career field, and sometimes you want to search a little bit further for out to a year, out to a month, or maybe even open to the time that's there. I know I worked for the health and safety quality and health and safety environmental engineer, and we looked in he was looking in 4 different states. He was from Arkansas, and I think we looked in 4 different states over the course of a month. I think we only found about a dozen positions and over that time frame. Another one that you can look at, executive assistant in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Well, that particular one, there are about 960 different jobs. But you notice as you start to type in a location, you have to be careful because there is a Dallas, Georgia, and a Dallas, Oregon. And you can limit Dallas to the Metroplex, Dallas proper, or Dallas County. So that's some ways that you can do your searches as well. Another search that you can take a look at, this one I want to show you how another area to find jobs. You notice that jobs tab up there. Well, if you click the menu, there are a number of different ones that are available there. If you click on the groups tab, by doing that, you are eligible to join about 100 different groups. And sometimes within the groups will list a job within the group. They're designing it because it's an affinity type group is for the most part. They're looking for someone with background and experience similar to the one posting the job. A lot of recruiters join groups as well, but those jobs that are posted within a group are not, I repeat, are not listed on LinkedIn proper because it costs $250 or did cost about $250 to post a job on LinkedIn. Okay, this is the filters that are available on LinkedIn. I did a screenshot about 18 months ago on this to capture this. But these are the different filters. These do not appear on every search. It's your results that you get. But notice I have for recruiter in the Dallas County, there were originally about almost 2,100 jobs. Okay. In the last month, there were about 1,600 or 1,539 jobs. Past week, it narrows it down. So those kind of jobs tend to get filled in a hurry. The salary area was something that LinkedIn picked up from Indeed.com, and a lot of jobs are now posting with a job salary range on them. New York, Massachusetts, California, and there's probably 3 or 4 other states that require that by law if you post a job in that state. I'll touch on one other one up there at the top. It says easy apply. If easy, I caution, do not, repeat, do not use the easy apply unless it allows you to update a current resume. And by that, I mean a resume that's tailored to the job that's posted. The headline should match the job title on the posting, and you should have a couple of accomplishments that support your headline underneath your summary there or in your about section. Okay. But you can look by company, you can look by industry, you can look by location, and you notice most jobs that are posted on all job boards are permanent full-time jobs. But LinkedIn also allows you to search for contract positions, part-time positions, internships, and temporary jobs because there are people who are looking for that kind of work particularly. Okay. LinkedIn also has another feature that allows you to create a job alert so that you don't have to go in and search over and over and over again for the same kind of thing. When you get that, you'll see a job alert and a radio button there, right there. If you click on that radio button to the right, it allows you the option to select daily or weekly. If you select daily, they'll come in between 7 and 8 in the morning. And because I've helped other people try and find jobs, I'm still getting those alerts on my computer. And I tend to delete them for the most part. But you notice how you do that, the radio button that's on, you can turn it off when you want to. But that allows those jobs to be pushed out to you. Any new job that matches the qualifications that you originally listed will be pushed out in your direction. Kind of wrapping up, we want to take a look at some homework that you want to take a look. You want to complete your sections on your profile to increase your ranking in searches. And do refresh. I can't stress how important that is. Your profile at least once a week, and maybe just reordering your skills. You can list the job titles, more than one, of the positions you're looking for. Okay, if you don't list a job title in there, LinkedIn is going to be gracious enough to list the title of your last job for you. Do use the open to work unless you're in a stealth mode, or you don't want to let your current employer know that you're looking. And you can do that by limiting the open to work to recruiters as opposed to open to all LinkedIn members. You do want to list your phone number and your email address on your first line of your about section. You do want to choose your top two or three skills in your skills section. Okay. And if you really want to try yourself out, do a people search for your title and your geographic area. If you don't show up in the first 10 screens, that's 100 thumbnail sketches. You probably aren't going to survive a search as well. Wrapping up, my email address is there, lockealderson@gmail.com. I'll be happy to send the slide deck to you if you ask for it. Jeff?
All right, do you have LinkedIn open?
I do. Let's close this one out. I want to still find, what am I doing, Jeff?
Need to share that screen.
That come up?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. We've got
Here we go. Okay, well, we have one question here. Michelle asked, how do you look for contacts in companies on LinkedIn?
okay.
So,
You
Michelle,
could
do you have a
go,
name of the company you'd like us to look up? Allstate. All right. So, how would we go to look up contacts at Allstate?
well, let me see if I could shrink my screen, Jeff.
No, not that small. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
There we go.
Okay. Allstate. This is, okay. Allstate is an insurance company. Come on. Okay. Now, one of the things that you could do, notice over here, there's this tab right there. Come on. Okay. It says people now. One of the ways that you could do is to search for companies this way. Okay. This is normally says job on this area right there, but if you scroll down, it opens up to Allstate, and you want Allstate in New York. You can follow, but you can also click on Allstate, but you can also look at people within Allstate. Okay. They only have about 55,000 employees. Okay. And you can look by title. Okay. Okay.
I got rejected for a position this week and I'm trying to find out why. If it's just because it's a different industry than I've been in. I don't know why.
Well, there are industries that are very specific about trying to find people from their industries. And claims is an area that they typically have where it's limited to that. But give me the area that you're looking at and we'll see if we can find somebody.
Okay, I'm looking in Irving
Okay.
because I'm an accounting person. I post payments, so it shouldn't make a difference on the industry. I mean, seriously, I'm just posting payments.
Okay.
So
Well, you
in
can play
Southern,
around with the company's area. I don't want to take a lot of time because it takes some time to explore that, but that's how you can find companies and people. And you can scroll in that area.
so there are 7 people that are living in Irving who work for Allstate.
Okay. So that's a way that you can find, you can put in job titles. If you're in accounting, was it accounts payable or accounts receivable?
It would be accounts receivable, of course.
Okay, so
I'm
then you put,
receiving the money.
okay. Well, that's why I say search for accounts receivable. But
Okay.
you just need to play around with that. That I believe that was
Well, I went to my agent, but she's on with a smaller company under Allstate and couldn't help me. It's like, but they make your payroll. Why don't you know someone in HR? It's like,
okay. Well, hopefully that will help, Lee.
okay, thank you.
Okay, Jeff, we want to look at somebody's profile, or do we want to look for a job for somebody?
If you'd like us to look at your profile, pop your name in the chat window and we'll take a look at your profile. Mark, okay, we've got one. Mark, M-A-R-K, last name, yep, that very first one there.
Locke Schneider.
Yep.
Okay. Gotta move that out of the way. Okay. Well, first mark it as a first degree connection, but I want to see what he's in. He's got his phone number and his email address in there. Okay.
And just a reminder that the only people who can see that contact information right there are first
Your
degree
first degree
connections.
connections.
So if you're not a first degree connection, if you don't have it in the about section, people can't find you or contact you.
Right. Now Jeff has got his contact information in his background photo. But let's see if Mark has got his information in his about section as well. Okay, but notice that the first four lines are all that appear. That's why I strongly advise putting your contact information on the first line of that. Notice it's here at the bottom of his contact information, I mean his about section. Not everybody's going to scroll through your about section to find that if they're a second degree connection, Mark. Okay.
So it needs to be the first line because I've got mine on the fourth
First line, right here at the top.
line.
First
Okay.
line. Okay. What else do we want to look at? Mark, let's take a look at your skills area. Okay. Okay. Brand management and marketing strategy. Are those of the 97 skills that you have, are those the most descriptive of who you are as a person? Because I know if people ask me who it is, from a professional standpoint, I'm a recruiter and I was a career consultant. So those describe who I was. A talent specialist is another way to say it for me. But if those are not, as I say, the one you can go that when you look at your profile and look at the blue pencil. The marketing strategy, cross-functional team leadership, brand strategy, those are the other things that he's got down there. Okay. So from a marketing standpoint and brand management, marketing strategy, those are pretty strong ones for Mark's background. Someone else, Mark.
Okay, we've got
Jeff.
another name here, Jody, Jody. Middle name, whoop, where'd it go? Leigh.
I mean, LZ.
Lee, it's Jody Lee Wallace. Mine is a disaster. I'm just gonna warn you.
Okay,
It's
Jody Lee what?
Wallace, Jody Wallace. But I posted the link to it. I'm an interior designer, but I've been freelancing and my portfolio is terrible.
Okay,
And
Jody, do you see yourself on the list for me to click?
let me try to get it to where I can see. I'm on my phone and it's tiny. Shoot.
Okay,
Are you able to click on the link that I posted?
no.
Oh, Jody Wallace. RID, there you go. That's
Okay.
me.
First thing I'll say is we're second degree connections. So I'm going to look at your contact information. You haven't opened up your security settings, so I cannot reach out to you directly. I would have to go through somebody else through an in-mail. Okay. And when people get in-mails, they're not always responsive to those. That's not their primary duty. So they may not open that and respond to those immediately. Okay.
So what do I need to do?
Well, first thing you can put your contact information on the top line of your about section.
Okay.
Let's
Contact.
Okay, this is your about
Yeah, I on the skills, I saw what you just did and I
You don't,
tried.
Jody, you don't even have an account about section.
Oh, I don't. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is. Okay, there it
she has
is.
an about section.
Okay, on your about section, you see my cursor there moving around?
Yeah,
The first line is where you want to put your let's connect and at least put your email address. If you don't want to put your personal phone number, you can get a Google phone number. I do not know how to do it. Do a query on Google and say, how do I get a Google phone number?
I do have a Google phone number
Post
and
that, it will screen the calls for you. Okay. Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing I'll move to that you've listed that you are a designer. Okay. What are some of the other job titles that you search for? Those are the job titles that should be in your headline underneath your name. Commercial and residential interiors tell what you do, but they don't. So commercial and residential interior designer. Okay, so add that word. Builder and client collaborate. Okay, project coordinator rather than coordination. Again, it
oh
makes a difference
gosh.
when you talk about the job title rather than the function, because
Okay.
recruiters search by titles. Okay. Okay, the other thing that you could do in your about section, you've used about 400, maybe 300 characters. You have 2,000 that you can have in that area. So what were some of the highlights or accomplishments that you had? What were the biggest projects that you've done? You know, if you did a major redo for a commercial installation or residential installation, like a hotel. Okay, those are the kind of things that you want to. What are the results of one of the things that you've done? Okay. The other
Okay.
thing I want to do is I'm going to scroll down because my touch screen is not working on LinkedIn this afternoon. Your skills, B2B and project coordination would not be the top skills, I would say, for an interior designer. Okay. So one of the things that you can do when you open up your screen is click on that pencil on skills area and then go to the three dots. When you click on the three dots, it will allow you to reorder your skills and then go over to your skills on the right, hold your cursor down and drag them and drop. Okay. Project coordination, interior architecture, space planning, those may all be the titles that you want to use are better than the one that you have B2B. Because most people know that you're going to work B2B, but that's not what they search on. Commercial design, architectural drawings, commercial interiors could be one that you have. Those are just some suggestions on your skills to make your skills stand out for work for you.
Okay.
Okay?
So just what is all that? This may be a dumb question, but like endorsements?
Okay,
I mean,
endorsements are somebody can check off that yes, you have those skills. Okay.
that's so annoying.
Well, it can be annoying, but it can also be a certificate, kind of a resolution that you've got that experience. Okay. The other thing I was going to look at You've got licenses and certification, which is good. My computer screen is jumping around on me. It's a new computer on me. Okay. Jeff, I'm going to stop sharing my screen if you want to pick up for the next person.
The other thing I would say for Jody is this is all you have for your current job as a freelancer. You've got to have some more results to
Yeah,
tell me
what were the results? What were the metrics that you had? How did you generate new, when you went to call on a new customer, did you have a portfolio of work that you'd previously done? How big was it? What kind of industry was it? You want
yeah,
to see what
give
those,
us
and they could be in bullet, come offline and strike them as bullets. Design
yeah.
the new interior for the updated Nilo Hotel in Plano, which has just changed names. So somebody did a redesign on their interiors.
So yeah, more details would be good, Jody. All right, we'll look at one more profile before we get out of here. Let's see here. Here's
Alyssa,
Alyssa's. She's open to work. Picture of Dallas. She does have an email address, so I can reach her there. And even though I'm a secondary connection, I see her email address. So obviously she's opened it up in the her profile to allow me to view that.
Jeff, check her message. Click on her message for a second. When you get the message like that, you don't want to click that, but if she has a blue message, then you can send her an email direct invite to connect.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
right. Some people have follow and they don't have connect on there. If you want to connect with them, open up the more button and then you can click on connect and be able to connect with somebody. If you're in job search, you probably want to be in the connect mode, not in the follow mode.
Good point, Jeff.
All right. She's got an email and phone number right up here to reach out.
Okay, it's a little busy. I would break up those paragraphs into shorter paragraphs.
3 to 4 lines
3 to 5
maximum.
lines typically, and then list an accomplishment. Now, as a deputy court clerk for criminal district, how many cases did you property? Or what were your responsibilities? What were the measurable things that you did there?
All
And as a
right.
nonprofit, if you were involved in fundraising and all as a nonprofit, that's a key one for nonprofits.
Full-time.
Okay,
Once
this is
again,
another one. Jeff, I'll mention
if
she
you
lists
get
an ending.
results, that would be great.
If she's listing an ending date for a probation officer, what have you done since then? The recruiters are going to ask, what have you been doing since the end of February? Okay, so you need a current position, and even if it's looking for a job, and what are you looking for? You can describe a little bit of what you're looking for, and that sample is in the deck that I mentioned that you can request.
Yeah.
Okay,
Education, licenses. She's got some projects in here which are great.
all right. Volunteering.
Volunteer.
Okay, case management and data analysis. Are those the most critical things that describe who you are and what you do? Ask yourself that question.
So most people are not going to, most people are not going to
LinkedIn,
open to see all your skills. They're just going to see the two that you want to really promote. So that's why you want to have those up there. All right. Okay. That's good. All right. We're out of time here. So let me share a couple more things and we will get out of here. If you want to receive a copy of Locke's presentation, you can just send Locke a oops.
oops, LockeAlderson@gmail.com. Not Anderson, not Luke Anderson, but Locke Alderson. I only joke about Luke Anderson because I've got an email that's been, a mail that's been delivered to me that way.
Yeah, all right. So that's it. Next week, our speaker is going to be Ruth Lipsky. She works for Lee Heck Harrison. She works with the job seekers on a daily basis, and she'll be here to talk about back to basics, making LinkedIn work for you. Tomorrow, the practice interview team is meeting in person. So if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you're welcome to come join them at Christ United Methodist Church in Plano, the corner of Parker and Coit, from 1 to 3 o'clock. You'll be conducting 3 different interviews, and you'll be able to pick an interview that you'd like to watch. It's a great way to network and to watch somebody else be interviewed before you're ready to be interviewed.
Gives you a lot of tips and techniques. They also provide feedback at the end of the interview.
Yeah, so it's very important. You don't get feedback when you normally go for an interview. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, 9:30 in the morning, the Calm Reset and Your Job Search with Nikki Duncan. You can join us in person. We also meet at Christ United Methodist Church, or you'll be able to watch us on Zoom. And those links are on the Career USA website. You're welcome to join the Career DFW or careerusa.org LinkedIn groups. We've got over 16,000 members in the Career DFW group. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join that group. I just started that website, that LinkedIn group when I started that particular website. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll find out about it. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. Every video that I post goes into one of 7 different playlists. And then down at the bottom where it says view full playlist, if you click there, up will come a list in chronological order of the date, the speaker, and the topic that they talked about, and you can go watch any video you want at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, just scan this QR code and send a blank email, and you'll be added to the distribution list. We only send out 3 emails every week, or you can just send a blank email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io, and we will get added. We'll get you added to that list to get the emails as they go out. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Locke is a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 17 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So Locke, once again, thank you very much for your time. Everybody else, thank you for joining us today. I saw a lot of new names that I have not seen before. So thank you very much for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you later in the week.